Mindy Tate, Executive Director for Franklin Tomorrow, and welcome to our first Frank Talks in person together in 2021. We're so excited to be back together, so excited to be here with you at Eastern Flank Battlefield Park Clubhouse. It's a great facility, and we plan to be here through the remainder of the year for Frank Talks, which is on the second Monday of the month. And we'll have coffee, and some days maybe we'll have a snack, I don't know, but we'll definitely have coffee and water to get us started in the mornings. And I appreciate your being here, and we appreciate the support of Williamson Medical Center and Renaissance Bank. But I am going to introduce Patrick Baggett, who is our board chair, to come and introduce our partners.
Thank you and welcome, everybody. Hope you're as excited as I am about these fantastic Franklin Parks mugs. These are first class. So all people online, come next month, because maybe we'll have some more swag from our speakers in the coming months. But thanks everyone here that's in person. Thank you for Williamson Medical Center. As many of you know, Franklin Tomorrow is supported by contributions from partners and from individuals like you. And we couldn't do any of these events that we do for free, including Breakfast with the Mayors, Frank Talks, as well as many, many other events that we do on a regular basis without your support. And specifically, Williamson Medical Center, who is, we have a representative here from Williamson Medical, and Nicole Volk is on our board as well, and fantastic attribute to the community. Williamson Medical Center provides excellent care for our community, and we appreciate them supporting us at Franklin Tomorrow. And then Renaissance Bank, the soccer bank now. And so it is great to have Tony and Diane here. So would you all like to come up and tell us about the goodies you all have for us?
Yeah, as Patrick mentioned, and you may have seen our name on the jersey for the Nashville Soccer Club, and we are very proud to be a sponsor with the Nashville Soccer Club this year, and hope that if you haven't registered and put your name in, we're going to give a jersey away this morning. So we'd love for that to be you. If you haven't, raise your hand. We'll bring this around and let you sign up. But wait till the end and give that away if that's easier, Mindy. But Renaissance Bank, over 100-year-old bank, right there on downtown Franklin on Columbia Avenue. Been there 2 years almost next month, if you can believe that. Yeah. Hard to imagine, Tony. But we are thrilled to be a partner with Franklin Tomorrow and love the opportunity that it gives to our community and the topics that we share on a monthly basis. And Tony, anything else that
we're just glad to be back in person. I know it's been a long time, so it's glad to see a lot of familiar faces. Yes. And everything. So we appreciate your support, and we appreciate being part of this fantastic organization. So I did see Tom Lawrence put his name in 3 times for the drawing. So if he wins, you know how that happens. So no, just kidding.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. So we are so glad to be here. As we said, this is our first meeting back in person, but later this month we will have our Breakfast with the Mayors, which will be on July 27th at Rolling Hills Community Church. The registration is up for that, and so we would love for you to plan to attend for that. There are a ton of things coming up later this month, starting this weekend with the Main Street Festival, July 17th and 18th in downtown Franklin. Bluegrass Along the Harpeth will be July 23rd and 24th. That's an interesting one because it's on a Friday and a Saturday. And then the Pride Festival Week, July 31st at Park at Harlansdale Farm. And then the Williamson County Fair is August 6th through the 14th. So there's plenty to keep us busy. Please be safe and stay safe. Again, we are so excited to be here at this beautiful, beautiful Eastern Flank Battlefield Park event facility in this property. I am lucky because this is my backyard. I live on Carnton Lane, and so this is my backyard. So when I forgot the tablecloth this morning, I was able to run home and get it and get back, and it's all good. but it's also a great place to walk and to enjoy nature. And as we were discussing among our programs committee, Christine Bradley is the chair of our programs committee, we were talking about the great outdoors, and so much is going on in our county and in our community, and we thought it was a great opportunity to highlight the great outdoors and how important were the great outdoors to you during the pandemic, when you could get out and be safe and enjoy nature. And it's so wonderful to see that. And so we're going to start with Williamson County Parks and Recreation. Michael Colbreth is the Nature and Trails Coordinator. And Michael, come on up, and you may want to come around the front because there's a lot of cords back there. And I'm going to turn it over to Michael. Thanks so much.
How's everybody doing today? Good? Yeah. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. All right. Well, as you said, my name is Michael Colbreth. I am Williamson County Parks and Recreation's Nature and Trails Coordinator. So I kind of oversee all of our nature parks and bike park, and we'll get into it a little bit here. All right, so the first one that I'm going to talk about is Timberland Park, and this was Williamson County Parks and Recreation's first kind of natural area. The focus primarily is on hiking trails and a little bit about the history of the area. So Timberland was first opened in October of 2014. So we're coming up on another anniversary here. And a little bit about the park's history. So in the late 1800s into the early 1900s, the whole area was a logging operation. So all the pictures that you're going to see, all those trees about 100 years ago weren't there. It's a clear-cut operation. There's a sawmill at the bottom of the big double-arch bridge on the Natchez Trace Parkway. Okay? In the 1970s, the Maxon family sold the property to the state of Tennessee, and it just kind of sat there. There was talks about using it for the Appalachian Arts and Crafts Center, which if you're going out I-40 towards Cookeville, you'll start seeing signs for the Arts and Crafts Center. Well, anyway, that initial plan was to have it on this property. But one thing led to another, and it didn't happen, so it sat there for a long time. In 1996, the state finally said, all right, well, if no one's going to use it, we're going to auction it off, sell it, get rid of it. And some local leaders, Nancy Conway, Judy Hayes, and our local parks director at the time, Doug Hood, and a whole bunch of other people, by the way, got together and said, well, you know what, we've got this piece of property here in Williamson County, let's put a park there. So that's exactly what they did. And over the course of years, pretty much, it's off, like I said, mentioned, it's off the Natchez Trace Parkway. So, and that's a national park in case some of you are unfamiliar. In order to access the park, you had to get access from the trace, which to build a road in a national park is a monumental task. Okay, it's a monumental task. But between, talks with the National Park Service, help from the Williamson County Highway Department, and eventually came to fruition. And we were able to open up in 2014, like I said. So the park itself is about 72 acres, okay? So it's a fairly small tract of land, which let me go back to, there we go. It's a fairly small tract of land. Most of the trails that were developed were built along pre-existing trails. So this is an old logging road that, when I mentioned that the whole area was clear-cut, a lot of those trails that are out there now are old logging roads. And then we added trails onto it as well. But when we first opened, we had just a little bit over 3 miles of trail, all of it dug in by hand, at least the ones that weren't logging roads. But eventually, due to the kindness of one of our neighbors, the Big East Fork Heritage Trust, we have gained access to additional property, and we've added trails to it. So today we have about 5 miles of trail total, okay? 5 miles of trail total. But the Big East Fork Heritage Trust has recently granted us access to a little bit more property. So now we went from a 72-acre park with about 3 miles of trail to now we have access to over 400 acres with 5 miles of trail, with an additional 5 miles of trail planned for the coming years. So here in a couple of years, we'll have roughly, 10, 11 miles of trail, give or take, which is huge. We really, the kindness of our neighbors has really helped the park grow and flourish. So a little bit more about the park. We have our visitor center there, which I forgot to mention this earlier, but all of the improvements, most of the improvements, whether it be from building the road from the Trace into the park to building our visitor center here, the majority of that was grant funded, okay? So all this beautiful stuff that you're seeing, it really didn't cost the county very much money at all because most of it was paid for by grants. So we have a visitor center. The park itself is open during the summertime, spring and summer from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then in the fall and winter, we go from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We pretty much just kind of go with when we have daylight, right? So we have a whole slew of educational programs that we put on every month. And those range from guided hikes, and those can be talking about our local wildlife, the history of the park, the history of the Natchez Trace. We talk about trees and plants, and we have some seasonal programs as well, because as you all know, when you go outside, if you wait even just a few weeks, things are just a tiny bit different. So that gives us plenty of opportunity to talk about the different seasonal changes out there as well. It allows people to connect with the place itself. And in my opinion, this is the most important stuff that we do in the park, that sort of outreach. The majority of the programs are free. A couple of them have a small fee associated for material or that sort, but all of them do require pre-registration, especially these days. They get to be so popular that we end up being inundated with 50 people sometimes, and anyway, we have to keep the numbers down a little bit, but anyway, if you're interested in that sort of thing, these are the programs left in the month of July. So we've got a 3-mile guided hike coming up, a night hike. Those are always really popular because, again, the park is, it closes at 6 p.m. So it gives people an opportunity to go out there at night and see the woods at night. Because you'd be surprised how many people, don't know what that's like. And then 10 essentials and a paracord keychain craft as well. The next park we're going to talk about is Wilkins Branch Mountain Bike Park. Now, this one is special. This is the first bike park that Williamson County Parks and Rec has developed. And it's been a raging success ever since it opened in September of last year. So this park is coming up on 1 year old. The property itself has been owned by the county, I believe, since the late 90s, and a local group, Outdoor Encounter, they approached the county basically talking about their passion, okay? The thing that they were passionate about and the community that they represented, the mountain biking community. In Williamson County, there, at the time at least, were not very many opportunities to go mountain biking. You'd have to drive up to Montgomery Bell or down to Columbia, or you'd have to drive a fair distance in order to participate in this if that was something that you enjoyed. But they came up with the idea and said, you've got this property here, let's put a mountain bike park there. And so that's exactly what they did. Volunteer groups did most of the work, organized by Outdoor Encounter. And again, most of it dug in by hand. If any of you are interested, by the way, if any of you are interested, we do on occasion do volunteer days. So if you want to get some firsthand experience with this sort of thing, by all means, see me after, okay? We can put you to work. So as of right now, the property as a whole is about 150 acres. Phase 1, the part that opened last fall, is about, between 30, 40 acres, roughly. And it has about 3 miles of trail on it. Phase 1, like I said, opened last fall. Phase 2 is coming up Work is going to start later this fall. It'll probably be finished by late winter 2022, maybe early spring 2022. But the ball is rolling, and an additional 3 miles of trail is going to be added. So at that point, we'll have a total of 6 miles. And then we get to jump across the road in a couple of years and add a whole bunch more. So if you're into mountain biking and you haven't been out to Wilkins Branch, I would highly recommend that you do so. These are just a couple of pictures of some action shots, as it were. Now, you may notice this individual is getting some air there. If you don't want to do that kind of adventurous riding, we do have other trails. So if you're just getting into mountain biking, right, there are some flatter, slower, like bunny hill kind of trails. A couple of them are nice and wide as well. Some of them are single track, so you're talking like basically the width of a bike plus a little bit. And some of the trails are much wider, okay? So anyway, we have trails for any and all skill level. So if you haven't ever done it before, then, come on out. The various amenities we have out there, we have restrooms, a bike wash station here, as well as a bike maintenance station. You just never know what's going to happen when you're riding the trail. Sometimes it can be pretty rough, and so you might need to go and just do a little tune-up on your bike. We have we have you covered there, okay? Get a flat, pump it up at the air station there. So that's Wilkins Branch. It's a passionate mountain biking community we have around here. And if you are part of that community and you haven't been out there, please come out and see us. Hours of operation. 8 a.m. to sunset year-round. Okay, so we open at 8, and this time of year we're closing at 8 too. So a long day. So the last park I want to talk to you guys about is Peacock Hill. So this is not open yet, but it should be coming fall of this year. Work is full steam ahead here on Peacock Hill. So like I said, it's under development. The history of this place, a few years ago, the Ogilvie family that is, well known in the Allisona community, southeast Williamson County is what we're talking about here. The Ogilvie family approached the county wanting to donate 250 acres to Williamson County to build a nature park. They saw what we had done at Timberland Park, they liked what they saw, and they wanted to create a lasting legacy for their family, in the community that, they had grown up in. And so they gifted that property to the county. There is the old bed and breakfast house that the family used to run on the property as well, which the county later acquired, and so that will be our visitor center. I'll show you a picture of that here in just a second. And we're very fortunate, and when I say we, I mean my staff and I, that most of the trails out there are also established old logging roads. I say it's a good thing because that means we don't have to dig it in by hand, right? So a lot of the trails are already out there. They just need a little bit of fine tuning, which our staff is working on even as we speak. There is access to a fairly large pond, which eventually we hope to have stocked for fishing. At the end of the day, we're hoping that the park when it opens this fall, it's going to have probably between 8 and 12 miles of trail to start with more to be added as time goes on. Now, let me go back. Sorry, you guys, but I always like to talk about that. Not that far though. All right. So this picture here is at the top of what is called Hog Hill. Hog Hill. Hog, I believe, was the name of a local farmer years and years ago. But this view here is reminiscent of something you would see on the Cumberland Plateau or even getting out towards the Smokies. This is one of the highest points in Williamson County, and it's within the park. So that's going to be one of the biggest claims to fame for Peacock Hill, because it's out there pretty far. I mean, you go south of Nolensville about half an hour and then you hit it, okay? But it's got outstanding views. Now, eventually, we're going to have, on some of the hills, platforms that come up and raise you even higher so you can see out even further. If you look out there, you all know the castle off of that they hold the Renaissance Festival. on that ridge line way out there. You can't really see it from the resolution of the picture, but the castle is right there. So you can see straight across the way. Anyway, it's really pretty. It's a good place to sit and have lunch. Why Peacock Hill? Excellent question. So the name of the bed and breakfast that the Ogilvy family used to run, it was called Peacock Hill because they had peacocks roaming the property. So in tribute to their old bed and breakfast called Peacock Hill.
Are there any left?
There were, but since there wasn't going to be anyone, which they roamed around this house here. This is the old bed and breakfast. Which you can see there's a platform for the peacocks to jump up onto the, that's still there. But the peacocks themselves, we found a home for them on a farm in Monterey, actually. Had some help with animal control and a local humane society. They were able to find them homes. Just because we don't have staff there all the time right now, so we weren't there to take care of them, but just every couple of days when someone was out there. So we didn't really want to leave them hanging out. I mean, they're peacocks. They'll roam around and forage for themselves to a point, but it's better for them to be somewhere where someone is there daily to take care of them. So early on, we found them a home in Monterey. So this is the Future Visitor Center. Right now, our staff is doing a lot of the remodeling inside. There's a bunch of different bedrooms and that sort of thing from the old bed and breakfast days, and it's going to create a really interesting setup on the inside. That house was actually built around an old one-room log cabin. So when you walk in the front door, when it opens, you'll see the log cabin set off, like room set off to the side. It's really very cool, a lot of history to it. And then this is another structure on the property, and yours truly. That's the old chapel, and there's going to be one of the longer looped trails out there is called the Chapel Trail. Anyway, you go past that and off into the woods. But anyway, so the development of trails is ongoing. We've made a lot of progress this summer. Of course, we wait until the hottest time of the year to really get moving on it. But it's coming along, and we hope to be open maybe October, November is when we're hoping, somewhere around there, give or take. But do any of you have any questions about any of that? All righty. Oh, yes, ma'am.
So how many now with these additions, how many parks do we have in Williamson County?
Okay, so the ones that Williamson County owns and operates, as far as natural areas, it's just Timberland, Peacock Hill, and Wilkins Branch for now. You never know what will happen. There is some, the county owns some property here and there. You just never know. Yes, ma'am?
A lot of our other parks that are built around athletic amenities, and there are walking trails in those parks as well. So Williamson County Parks and Recreation operates over, I think we're at 34 different amenities across Williamson County right now. If you go to our website, our facilities and parks page, they'll give you a breakdown of which ones have access to outdoor parks and walking trails.
Yeah, there's hiking trails all over the place, truly. So, anyway, good. All right, thank y'all.
Thank you, Michael. And that was Carrie Hudson, who has been with Parks and Rec for a number of years and handles their communications and marketing. And we love having Carrie here today as well. So we're going to now shift gears to being inside the city and learning a little bit about the great outdoors. And I will introduce Paige Cruz, and then she'll introduce her team. But Williamson County Parks and the City of Franklin have worked together for a number of years on park facilities and being complementary in terms of the facilities they have. But Paige, we've got some great things to talk about inside the city, and I know someone's going to reconnect you, I think. Rob? Do you need to unplug? Or you want to? Yeah, there you go.
Well, good morning. Again, my name is Paige Cruz. I'm Assistant Parks Director. Happy to be here today and happy you guys are here as well. So While he's getting us reconnected here just a minute, I'm going to just quickly our staff you're going to first hear talk today is going to be Janie Mason, then you're going to hear Cal Laporto, then you're going to hear Rob Thomas, and they're all programming, and they're all in this building. And many of you probably already know them if you come here and you rent at this building or you use this building, just like today. So you will hear from them today regarding amenities that the City of Franklin has, and then I'm going to kind of bring up the end of that conversation with some CIP projects. So we're going to get started here in just a minute. With Janie, will you come on up?
Good morning. All right, so I'm just going to highlight some of the walking trails that we have within the park system here inside the City of Franklin. The City of Franklin has currently 18 parks with over 900 acres of parkland, and that includes passive parks, active parks, and historical parks. And it's just part of our vision to provide these quality parks and trails for the citizens of Franklin. Up first, we've got Aspen Grove Park. It's kind of a gem tucked away in the Cool Springs area of Franklin. It's a 14-acre park, and it's got a 1-mile paved surface right there in the park. A couple of different ways you can make that loop. You can do it a half-mile or a full mile. And then we've got several amenities there in the park as well, such as a playground and a pavilion and things like that. Bicentennial Park is in the downtown area of Franklin, just a couple blocks away from the square. It has a 1-mile paved trail as well, and the wonderful thing about that is that trail actually connects into the trail that goes behind the Chestnut Bend neighborhood, which then connects into the property with Williamson County Parks. Eastern Flank Battlefield Park is where we are today. This property was formerly a golf course, so the existing trail that's here is a 1-mile trail. It's a concrete course that used to be the golf cart path. A lot of words. It is. All right, and the next one we've got, and this building is part of that park as well. Sorry. Jim Warren Park is over on the west side of town. It's a 58-acre park, and it's kind of built around different athletic amenities, the baseball fields, football fields. There's a skate park, but there's also a 2.25-mile paved trail that goes around and through the perimeter of that park. Pinkerton Park is very close to downtown as well. It's on Murfreesboro Road just before you cross over the river and head towards downtown. It's a 34-acre park, and there is a 1-mile paved trail, and the highlight of that trail is there are fitness stations along that trail, so you can get your walk and your exercise in all at the same time, and it's also the home to the Storybook Trail that goes along the path behind the Tinkerbell Playground. The park at Harlansdale Farm is kind of the biggest park that we have currently until Southeast comes on in a couple of years. It's a 200-acre property, and there is a 3.1-mile natural turf course that goes around the perimeter of the property. We've got it broken down here. You can do 3 miles, you can do 1 mile. There's a couple different ways to make that loop, and that also is used a couple of days a week as an equestrian trail. Winstead Hill Park. The trail here is actually my favorite because it's kind of tucked away and you don't really know it's there unless you know that it's there. There's a historic site at the front of the park, but then the back of the park, there's a 3/4-mile paved trail that goes kind of by the woods, and it's just a lot of beautiful open space, and it's quiet, and it's right there on Columbia Avenue, close to Mac Hatcher, and it's a gym, so you should check that one out.
It's a great sledding hill, too.
I cannot say that I've done that. And then the City of Franklin also has a mountain bike trail inside the city. It opened in the fall of 2019. Currently, it's about 2 miles of trail for a variety of levels. There's a beginner loop and then more advanced portions of the trail. And it was also, Outdoor Encounter was involved with that, as well as progressive bike ramps and getting all the elements of that park constructed. And over the next couple of years, there are plans to expand that trail to add on approximately 4 more miles over the course to make it all connect through. And if you have any questions about that, we can answer those at the end of our presentation.
Hi, my name is Robert Thomas. think something worth mentioning would be about the Bicentennial Park tying into the trail that goes along the Harpeth River and goes all the way over to the rec center. It's much longer than a mile. It's a real nice trail.
Yes, yes. Okay, so my name is Robert Thomas. I'm with Franklin Parks as well, program specialist. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the outdoor aquatic recreation we have. Stop looking at that slide. So a couple years ago, we started fishing on the farm, basically to offer a free day of fishing. Coincides closely to the state's free day of fishing for youth. So we provide live bait, snack, and fishing poles to the kids. We have expanded it to 2 days now, and generally about, I guess, close to 50 kids register for each day, and just have a great turnout. We assist with getting fish off hooks or worms on hooks, which is always fun. Some enjoy doing that, some don't. We also have a pond over at Jim Warren Park. Both the pond at the Parker Harlansville Farm and the park at Jim Warren Park are open to the public every day, just catch and release. If you are assisting children or an adult just wanting to fish on your own, you do need a fishing license, which can be easily attained at a local retailer or TWRA online. And Harpeth River. If you haven't explored Franklin via the Harpeth River, I highly recommend it. It's a wonderful way to see the city from a different angle. A couple different images here. This was, I believe, August of 19, and this was December of 2019, and this was this summer. So you see how popular it's gone over the last year. I believe, I mean, just from personal experience, kayaking, canoeing, tubing has just grown immensely. But you certainly want to make sure that you've got the right conditions. Here in Franklin, we've got over 15 miles that you can navigate on the river. Some of the most upstream miles that you can, but again, if it's too low, you're going to be doing a lot of walking. Just some safety tips. Actually, I think there's a little video.
Hi, I'm Robert Thomas with Franklin Parks, talking about kayak and canoe safety, and this is your Safety Minute. One of the first things you're going to want to do is check the weather. It's going to dictate how high the river is. If it's too low, you're going to drag, probably like today. If it's too high, the chains might be on the fence, and we ask that you don't use the launch. You should never paddle alone, but if you are going to paddle alone, do let somebody know, and then also you'll need somebody to pick you up and shuttle you back. Along with knowing the weather is going to let you know what to wear. You're not going to want to wear cottons ever if you're floating, because if you do tip, that's going to drag you down and it's going to keep you wet. Always wear a life jacket or PFD, which is a personal flotation device. Saying that it's not comfortable is not an excuse. Along with wearing the right clothing and life vest is wearing the right footwear. You're not going to want to wear flip-flops, and you're definitely not going to want to go barefoot because this is a rocky river. We want you to have fun, but we also want you to be safe. You can check the city's website for more information. We also have signage here at each of our launches. Thank you for tuning in to today's Safety Minute.
So yeah, those are just some safety tips. Polyesters, that's a great thing to wear. Keeps you cool and dries quick. Plan your trip, like I said, and let someone know where you're going, roughly how long you'll be on the river. Kind of want to know your ability, and if you guys need tips on roughly how long a trip on the Harpeth would take, I'd be happy to share information. Yes?
So, aren't there markers on the river as
There,
mile markers?
yes. So the Harpeth here in Franklin is really well marked. Basically every road that you go under, it'll say roughly what mile it is, or at least what road that is. And then there are mile markers along the Harpeth here in town for, I know every mile, and I believe maybe even tenths of a mile. So you want to know the river conditions, like I said. I'll click on this in just a moment. Like I said, the department will close the river access points that we manage roughly whenever it gets about 7 feet high. It starts to get a little bit more turbulent. This image here was, again, from the flooding we had early December 19, and this is from the same exact launch. This is the Riser Point launch that is now out of commission, and they have signs posted that it's, out. So you can just kind of see, this was actually this March 2021. So just kind of a little bit of the difference, really, just you kind of see that. Here are the levels of the river where it becomes like action and flood stage. This last year, the flooding we had in March was at 31.19 feet on the gauge, and historic back in 2010 was 35.14. USGS river gauges are extremely helpful. I use them frequently before I plan to go out. This link here, so we're at 3.51 feet today on the Franklin gauge, and you can kind of see the different gauges that there are. There's actually 4 here in town. This is the one that I use the most. You can get gauge height or discharge. 35 is pretty slow, so but usually the gauge height will help me the most anyway, as long as so I know I'm not going to drag anyway. 3.5, 3 to 6 is probably like the sweet spot. And we do have the river map on our website. These are these top 4 are managed by the city, and this last one is managed by the county. So you can get a real easy paddle from Eastern Flank to Harlansdale, 3 miles. Probably do it about an hour and a half. Just depends upon what you want to do. People fish. If you fish, it's going to take a little bit longer. If you tube, it's going to take longer. But kayaking, canoeing, about an hour and a half for beginners, maybe.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Kyle Laporto. I'm with the City of Franklin Parks. I didn't know I was going to be following local celebrity Rob Thomas today in my presentation. I don't have any good videos to show, but anybody here a disc golf player? All right, we got one here. Nice. This is an outdoorsy presentation. I think this course is very outdoorsy. It's been around since 2009, and it's if you're familiar with Liberty Park, it's Liberty Park, this McEwen there, C-Spot is over here. The disc golf course is about in this vicinity of the park itself. It's kind of tucked away. It's got got 10 different holes here, and each hole has 2 different tee-off locations. So technically you could play 20 different holes in an outing. It takes about an hour and a half. There's also different locations of the basket locations, so they can periodically we'll switch those up, so we can diversify the offerings at this golf course. A couple of the rules, it's like most disc golf course, it's play at your own risk, nobody's there watching over it. Children should definitely be accompanied by an adult because it is a hilly course, a lot of ups and downs, rocks, a lot of animals, as you can see in this here. You might come across some snakes, some bugs, animals living in their natural habitat, so we ask that you don't mess with them, and hopefully they don't mess with you. But definitely wear proper footwear and go out there and enjoy yourself. We're hoping soon to have some leagues out there, host some leagues for people to come and play, maybe some tournaments, but look forward to those opportunities as we get further along in developing this property and the offerings that it has. And I introduce you to Paige. You know what?
All right, I will warn you, they took all the cool pictures, so I don't have as many cool pictures because these projects are new, so I will once they get started and finished. Clicking something wrong.
The left side.
Oh, side. There we go. All right, the first project we got here is FSSD. And if you don't know what that means, I think everybody here does, but that's Franklin Special School District. And this one, has anybody heard of this that's going on? Okay, we got some hands that do. This one is getting ready to start, and we are super excited. And the reason I'm telling you about this project, because the city is partnering with the school on this. And it is unique because this is not city property, it is school property. We are super excited. I think this conversation started, I would say, 7, 8 years ago with, if you know, Lisa Clayton, myself, and Dr. Snowden. And thank goodness Dr. Snowden welcomed us back to his office quite often, and he heard us, he listened. And we started this conversation because if anyone knows here, what is the one thing that we need more of in Franklin? And don't say anything about traffic, because this has nothing to do with that. But I can't solve that problem. Would you? Thank you. Okay, I got someone right here that answered that. We need more space in general, whether it's ball fields, whether it's football field, lacrosse fields, we need athletic fields. So in order to do that, this is what we kind of came up with. So this is an awesome plan. And the first part of this, this is part of a master plan, but this is just the one piece. And this is where basically the school decided they wanted to start here. We could have started somewhere else, but this was the need and they wanted to start here. And this is baseball and the softball, and in the middle you will see concession. You'll see batting cages for the girls and for the boys. And you'll see restrooms. And if anyone knows FSSD right now, they don't have restrooms, and I don't count a porta-john. So those don't count. We have some of those too, but this is definitely something they don't have. They wanted a concession, they wanted those restrooms. So this is something more you would see at a high school or even higher level. It will be lit with LED lighting. It would have many other features as far as you can see from the parking lot getting into the school to access it. It will be user-friendly getting to the fields and getting to that area. And again, this is just one of the pieces. And you'll see some of the things. It was important when we did this project not to leave anything out. We wanted to go back into that space and be complementary with what they had. And where we come in with the city, and if you haven't heard this, you might ask, well, what are we getting out of it? And it is, I will tell you, it's a win-win. It's not a secret. We said we needed space, we need space. And they will get their space because they're the #1 user, and that means their teams will have priority. Where we come in from the city, if you go to Jim Warren right now, you will see a baseball tournament going on at the 2 big fields. This field, I could have used 5 times now this year. So we need this field to overflow. We need the softball to overflow. So we are basically overflow. The schools are out in the summer. We would be using these for overflow of tournaments. As far as anything else during the year, that has not been determined yet. Those are kind of the main 2 areas that we're focusing on right now. But again, rainy days, they have batting cages. They don't have to go into the school to set up a cage or set up something the day of. The cages are there. Now, what has changed slightly, some of this, obviously, we all know when you do a project, you don't get everything on the wish list, or at least not in the parks world, or the school world probably, but they got a lot of the bells and whistles. And when I say that, on the inside here, you'll see just along this edge, this is going to be artificial turf, and we call that halos. So what that does is that's preventive maintenance, and that's an awesome thing. It's also on the softball side as well. Anything that we can do to cause ourselves to have less maintenance, that's what we're going for. But you will see, shade structures over the bleachers. You will see some, like I said, a lot of other, as far as the batting cages, if you've ever been to Jim Warren, it will look something like that, except newer and nicer. So a lot of, and probably one of the most proud things they are proud of is that concession and that also that restroom area, which both are really nice features. So again, this is the first part of this, and this was come in a little, I think we had a little over $7 million budgeted for this. So again, this is a split between the school and between the city. And as far as taking care of it every day, you might wonder about that. That is a huge part of this. Where we come in from the city, we maintain this every day. We will send staff to this location, and they will mow, weed eat, drag the infields, prep it for games at night, for practices, and so forth. So again, that will be 1 staff typically that will be over there. It could be 2 if there was a tournament possibly, but in general, we have it budgeted for 1 staff to go over there daily and maintain that. Just like we do at Jim Warren, just like we do at Liberty, equestrian facility at Harlansdale, all of our, at Fieldstone. So one of our staff that takes care of one of those areas will be at this site daily. So great partnership. We're looking forward to many more in the future. And again, the school helps really determine in their board what they want to do next. So if this, partnership, and we're looking forward to it, goes well, and we're both on board, we hope in years to come, you'll see another beautiful picture up here. And it might be at another school. It might be tennis, it could be football, it could be whatever other sport that is important to the school system. And again, this is just the first part of this, and we're super happy to say, I think it goes before BOMA tomorrow night, and that's the last on our end. And we're hoping that construction starts in August. So it's exciting, this project. And the other one yes, sir.
Which school is that?
Yes, Poplar Grove, I'm sorry. Yeah. It's on the Poplar Grove side. If you know where this is, existing softball and baseball field now, it's going in that space. So that will be demolished and this will go up. And they don't have lights, but in order for us to use it, we'll have to have lights. So lights will be on this. It'll be irrigated. Yes, sir. That'll be on, city won't have anything to do with that. We'll quickly say we're not in the concession business. We don't want to be. But that'll be whoever whether it's Booster Club, whether it's one of their user groups, they'll determine that. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, that's a good question because of the location of this. This will be the city's, as far as ball field goes, our first experience with these LED lighting. We currently have Musco lighting at all of our sports complexes, which if you're not familiar, you see them whether you watch a college game or maybe Super Bowl. It's a pretty known name in the athletic facilities. And these lighting, it will not have overshadowing. Basically, when you step on the field, it will be lit up. When you step right off, it is dark. And the reason a lot of cities and schools are going to this is because of that shadowing. And obviously, the technology is there, or with the older lights, it's not. But you have more capabilities. But if if it's close to a neighborhood, or you want to make sure that we're not providing that light casting on to their properties. So we want to be conscious of that, and that was important in doing this. But this is the city's first LED ball fields that we will, as far as we're a part of. Even though it's on school property, this is our first, and we're pretty excited to have it. I have another question over here before we move on. Okay. And the next one I'm going to talk about today is Liberty Park. This one is pretty exciting as well. Not as far along as we are with FSSD, but if you know where Liberty Park is, it's off of Turning Wheel Lane. The actual address is 2080. Some come in off of McEwen. You can come in that park many different ways. It used to be, I think Janie used this word earlier, but I'm going to use it again. It used to be the hidden gem until all things changed on that side of town. When the Drury went in, when all the new properties and subdivisions went in, all of a sudden everybody knows where Liberty Park is now. So good or bad, however you see that, people used to not understand where it was, but now they know. But it is existing. You see the three diamonds or the three ball fields. That is there. There's batting cages and there's concession and restrooms there. Now, on the side we're going to look at, which is on this far side over here, and it is some of the amenities that we're looking at, which you can see here to your left as well, is it's set to have tennis, pickleball, which the city, I know the county has pickle, the city does not. So on our end, this would be the first set of pickle going in. It is also we're set to improve the parking space that's there and add multi-purpose. If you can see down here, number 12, right in this area here, that's going to be a multi-purpose field. It could be used for cricket, but it could be used for anything else. There are some cages next to that that we're excited to have. And again, cricket is a huge sport. If any of you may see them using some facilities. We don't have a current facility for those users. So we're trying to provide a space for them, but also provide a multi-purpose field for anything else that we decide to put there as overflow. Next to that, I think it's number 17, we've got also in there, we've added, there's going to be right in there a restroom, and there's going to be a basketball court. Now, what is unique about the backside of Liberty, and Rob, I'm sorry, it wasn't Rob, it was Kyle, talked about disc golf. Disc golf is back there, a playground's back there, and a few other things. But honestly, if you don't know to go back there to the dog park and circle around, you may not know it's there. So that's what's important. This phasing will continue to grow. Like in our first phase, it has not been 100% determined of everything that's going to happen in this, but we know there's a farmer's market that's going to be part of this, because they're already there, but we're going to build a structure for them. We're also going to build a pavilion that'll be beside the tennis and the pickleball courts, and that pavilion has a restroom, which is so important, because guess what we have there, right? Porta-johns. So anything to improve that, we're excited. We're looking at some possible in the future satellite bathrooms, but we know for sure the pavilion will have a restroom. And again, there's going to be some mountain bike trails. So there's many, many things added to this area. And I think I've mentioned most of them, but you know, this whole project right now, again, will be probably in phases. At this same time, we have some things we need to address on what I call the current side, but we don't know yet what we'll be able to do with that. But so we're concentrating on this second phase, but some of those other things maybe get as far as improved. And again, this is a great example. This park does not have LED, and it needs it. Again, this park was, I think we built in 2002, 2003 it opened. So you can tell there's some age, but we obviously keep it up and are constantly trying to make improvements. But we're excited to add these new features, because this side of this current park caters to more baseball. The new part, you'll have a lot of different users. Between tennis, pickle, you're going to have possibly cricket or whoever else uses the multi-purpose. You'll have basketball. And again, you've already got a playground, you've already got disc golf there. So we're just adding to this whole other side and more users. So we're very excited about this project. We're looking to bid this project in 2022. A lot of this is being finalized. So again, we're not sure exactly which parts of this it'll be phased in. So it'll probably be 2 phases that this happens. Any questions about Liberty? Anybody know where Liberty's at? Okay, I see some hands. Okay. All right. Well, this pretty much wraps up the 2 that I'm going to talk about today. You will hear more about upcoming CIP projects, because we got a lot. But we will talk more in the future about others that are coming down the pipeline as well. So thank you again. Thank you, Mindy, for having us.
Thank you so much, Paige, and your team, and thank you to the folks from Williamson County Parks and Rec. Get outside. There's so much to do in Williamson County, and we are so lucky. You know, if you talk to people who move here and you say, oh, well, we have a 200-acre park on the north side of the city, and we have a 110-acre park in the middle of the city, this park, they're stunned to learn about how dedicated both Williamson County and the city of Franklin have been to providing park facilities and opportunities for recreation. So we really appreciate that. Now, you all have a drawing. Anybody need to get in? So I just want to remind you also that we'll be here on the second Monday of the month in August for our next Frank Talks, but don't forget about Breakfast with the Mayors on July 27th at Rolling Hills Community Church. We would love it if you would go to our website and register to attend that event, so that we make sure to have enough coffee from Community Coffee and biscuits from Puckett's, because Puckett's will be back, and that'll be great. Also, who has a historic Franklin license plate on the back of their car? A lot. If you were one of the original, if your number is under 1020, you probably need to renew that this month or next month. Those original plates were issued about 12 years ago in July and August, and so we would encourage you to renew or encourage a friend to get a historic Franklin license plate. I love seeing those numbers over 3,500 on the road. That makes me really happy, as Franklin Tomorrow is the beneficiary of that plate. Half the revenue from the additional $35 it takes to get that plate, and we appreciate that. We are very excited about some of our programming coming up. I should have mentioned Breakfast with the Mayors. On the 27th will be the Williamson County Mayoral Summit, and all the mayors of Williamson County cities have agreed to be there and participate in our annual Mayoral Summit. There are new mayors from the city of Spring Hill and Nolensville, and even Fairview has a new neighbor. Debbie Rainey, who a lot of you know through her years at United Way, is the mayor of Fairview. I think against her will, actually. It was against her will, pretty much, but it's how stuff that works out sometimes that way. But, okay, so, are you ready?
Minnie, I'm gonna let you draw.
But what if I draw my name?
That's all right. We'll just oh, sorry about that. Derby, that's your fourth one. Okay.
Okay, and I'm closing my eyes. I'm getting down here and, ooh, trying to pick one up. There we go.
Who we got here?
Dr. Yog Nepal. Yog, one. Yay! Great.
We'll do one more.
And we'll do one more.
And we're happy to, you
Yeah.
can come swap out for whatever
the
size that you
small ones.
want. We brought a small, I think, here today. So if you'd like
Who
a
is?
small, you're welcome to
Oh,
it.
Paula Harris, yay. Paula, yay, great, all right, good, two good names. Thank you so much for joining us for Frank Talks today, and we'll see you soon. Stay safe and be engaged.
Yes, that was good.